And even if he lost weight and got in shape, he's only 5'6", and I am just not attracted to guys who are short. Plus, he doesn't have a very nice face.
Saying all that
only if you have value in her eyes.
Yes,
if she sees value in you, then she cares about your validation.
Right.
If you have no value in her eyes, she doesn't care. If a bum doesn't give me validation, I don't care.
Right.
I made a point in an old WoW video that pickup artists say that cat and string theory. If you what's the word he used? I think it was sin, PUA. He said that if you show, I think it was breaking rapport. That's it. If you break rapport with a woman, that entices her to chase you. And my example was, so if you break rapport with a homeless man, if a homeless man breaks rapport with you, would that entice you to chase him, give him all of the money in your wallet? Which is a no. So this breaking rapport and not giving a woman validation doesn't entice her to chase you because you don't have value to her if you're not good looking.
Go around New York City and you'll see this you'll actually be gamed by not homeless men, but by con artists that will actually do exactly that. Plenty of times they will pull some kind of number, like let's say that you are a fit guy, that you've got big muscles. So it's very common to just be like, hey, oh man, yeah, you work out, you're looking really really large, except the arms, man. What's up with the arms? Right. Like any kind of oh gosh, have you been to New York City? Have you walked around? Like you'll see this played out many times, and it's very easy to fall into the trap. Like it is, again, these maybe not a homeless person, but it doesn't take much that you have to take away from a person in order to for them to seek validation. It's a normal human need to get validation, and the best way to make someone seek validation is to give them a small amount and then to take it away.
Yeah. Okay. So again, an ugly guy giving a bit of validation. Sometimes women don't even want validation from an ugly guy, and if an ugly guy gives some validation, then takes it away, women will be like, "Thank God he's gone."
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, again, why are we saying ugly guy though?
Because, I'm talking.
I rarely see guys that are like ugly.
Yeah, because a lot of men don't know how to rate men, and a lot of men don't think that. A lot of men overestimate what goes, or let's say it like this: a lot of men think that below average looking guys are average. They overrate guys because they're not looking at them through, the eyes of someone who evaluates looks. They're not looking at men through the eyes of a woman. So if you see a guy if you see a guy who doesn't have, acid burns, you're gonna assume he's at least average in your eyes. But to women, he's below average, because of certain features to do with his jaw, his long mid face, his eye spacing. But you're not going to evaluate those things. You're going to just say, well, he doesn't have acid burns, therefore he's average. He should be able to get a girlfriend.
No, I'm not that naive. But here's the question I would ask: what is the problem we're trying to solve here? So, are we trying to solve the problem of seriously below average guys? Let's say below a four or below of them getting women? Or are we trying to solve the average case for the average guy of his difficulty with women? What is the problem that we're trying to solve?
It's two pronged at least, or maybe even three. I would say for below average looking guys, the aim would be for them to get to looks max as much as they can. But
I agree.
If they can't get to at least average looking looks, then it's over, or it's going to be very difficult. If average looking guys can looks max to become above average looking, then that's like a win. That's great. And average looking, I'm basically trying to help men realize that obviously you do need to have a decent personality. You do need to have some game. You can't be like the caller we had earlier, that kind of weird.
Yeah.
So you need to have that's the ground zero. You need to have social skills and be relatable and that kind of thing. Then you need to build on your looks, and then if that all of that doesn't work, then it's not your fault. That's what I'm saying.
I think we pretty much agree on that. I would say that most guys can get to average level if they actually work on their looks, right? Like every guy that really complains to me, and then I say, well, let me see your 6-pack abs, because if you've really, really worked on yourself to that point, and then it still didn't work, then I'm going to give you a lot more credibility. But if you haven't worked on yourself to that point, then you can't really say that you've increased your looks to the max. In addition to that, the thing is, I agree with what you're saying. Like, the problem is this, is like, it does really no good. Like, you have to have decent social skills. Let's say that, just as a well-adjusted human being. But I'm just like, if you're going to try and learn a little bit of game, there's just no point, because it's not going to help you. You're actually going to be worse because of it, because you're going to like try and do shit, and you're going to try to do fancy shit, and you're just not going to have any success with it. Like, you have to really devote yourself to actually learning it in depth. Now, if you've already
I strongly disagree. There are so many men who spend years learning game, and they're on their 20th boot camp, and they've bought all the RSD videos or whatever, and they know all these terms and things that they and what they're doing is just it's become a community to them. I would say that you should learn some game, the game that you need to attract a woman, or the game that you need to learn is quite minimal. And then the rest is your looks. The rest is your looks. So the game you can learn.
No, it's not quite minimal.
No, the game that you need to learn. No, the game that you need, because a lot of what I learned about game, a lot of it is also knowing not what to do and how to just be comfortable with things happening as they should, instead of trying too hard. So there is an aspect of there. You shouldn't be learning game for 10 years, because you should have learnt all you need within a short period of time, and then the rest is your looks.
See, it's not learning though; it's doing.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
and it is way more difficult. And I know guys, one of the guys that I know really well, that does really well, that I have seen him get results. He spent 2 years practicing game, going out like 4 nights a week, and got 0 results for 2 years. And then after that, he had a breakthrough, and he started making progress, and now he can just slay it. Okay. Yeah. And nothing really changed except that he developed that skill level to that degree. And the other thing is, like, it's not just like knowing the tactics, like knowing things doesn't, it's not the same thing. It's like, you can read a book on golf, but that doesn't mean that you can play golf. You got to have to swing that club a lot of times. And also, you have to take risks, right? I know, again, I was just talking to a guy, just coaching a guy that was like, I talked to all these women, and they always like put me in the friend zone. And I practice like, approaches, and he said he's done over 1,000 approaches, and I believe him. And he said he's gotten no results from 1,000 approaches. And I said, well, what are you talking about when you're talking to these women? Well, we usually have a really good friendly conversation. It seems like they really like me. Usually talk for them for 2 or 3 hours sometimes. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you're practicing the wrong thing. This is why you're not getting results. Like, you're not coming across as a man. You're coming across.
But from my point, from my side, I would say that I don't get friend zoned. I get rejected, straight rejected. So I can't. It's not like I can say, oh well, maybe I'm coming across too friendly or something. You can't accuse me of that. I'm making sure I am masculine and coming across with a dominant personality and trying to be flirty and.
Okay, so tell me what you
my
do.
rejections aren't like friend zoning. It's straight rejection. I don't want to be anywhere near you. I don't like your looks. I don't like your face. And boom, done.
Wait a minute. A woman is hold on. Okay, give me. Well, okay. First of all, tell me how many approaches that you've probably done, or like how often you're doing approaches, and then second of all, tell me what you typically open with, what you say, and how it generally the conversation line goes.
It's been a long time since I've done approaches, but I tried to make it when I was doing day game, I had to be obvious or direct, because it seems so awkward to just, stop a woman in the street and talk about something that's,
okay, so what would you say? What would you say?
I would say something like, hey, I didn't say it like this, so it will sound a bit stilted and weird now, but I would say something like, hey, I found you cute and I just had to come over and say hi, or something like that. And the thing is, it's not the people will say, well, it's the thing you said that got you rejected, but it's not. It's the looks of the guy doing the thing, because I'm pretty sure a good looking guy could say the same thing and get way more results. Let's not blame the individual. Let's not blame the guy's personality.
Well, okay, so a good-looking guy, if you know that you're a good-looking guy, you could probably get away with saying, hey, I saw you over there. I thought you were cute, so I just had to come over and say hi. What's going on? Right? You could do that if you're a good-looking guy. If you're not a good-looking guy or objectively good-looking, then it's probably better to say something like, hey, I saw you over there, and I just wanted to meet you. Can I meet you real quick? Just something like that. So you're not commenting on the looks, or you just say, hey, I just saw you standing over there. I'm Joe. What's your name? Right? Anything like that where you're not immediately making it about.
You know what you get then? You get women being polite. You get the 10-minute conversation to nowhere, and then you're like, it makes it awkward for her to reject you. So then she gives you her number, and then she flakes on you. I've had that.
Well, okay. So again, all of this is just some of that is going to happen, but once you've opened, then you have to take the conversation somewhere where it does become a man-to-woman conversation, where it does have, and some of it is, and most of it actually, I'd say, is not what you're saying; it's how you're saying it.
Yes,
and it's the way that you're projecting, right? Because I can say something, very sexual, and I can say it in a very nonchalant way, or I can say it in a very sexual way. I could say something very innocent and make it seem very sexual.
Right, because we're short on time. I'm gonna get through let me get through the Red Pill Jesus. Thank you for calling. Okay.
Yeah, can I respond to this question real quick?
All right, real quick.
About about helping out ugly guys. Well, I've never heard a dating coach or PUA say, hey, you're below average looking. You need to get this surgery. You need to get rhinoplasty. You need to lose 50 pounds. I've never heard that. It's always about you need to improve your game, maybe go to the gym a bit. But they never offer solutions to get guys to, to looks max. That's never talked about in the, PUA community. I've never heard it. Maybe I'm wrong. Have you ever done that? Has a student come to you and asked, it's really ugly, and you turned them away and said, hey?
Their pictures. The first thing I asked is for their pictures. That's the first thing I ask, because I want to see if there's something to work with here or not, and what to work with, because the easiest thing to do, which will even just build their confidence, is let's get you looking as good as you can. Why not? Like, if you have absolutely no style, if your haircut sucks, if all of this, and you're overweight, then these are the obvious things that to work on, not just for like attractiveness, but for confidence and for feeling good about yourself. And let's get you feeling more like a man, so you can act like a man. I think that's really important. And also, again, you got to say, like, if someone has some kind of really, they're really not good looking at all, and there's not much that can be done, then you have to let that person know that, hey, you're probably not going to succeed at this, right? Like, but there's so few of those. I have rarely encountered someone that I would have just said, hey, yeah, this is not going to work for you, right? But I have told guys that, hey, look, the way that you look right now is not going to make things easy for you. Like, you're going to have to, I'm not saying that you're going to get not be able to get any results, but your results are not going to be as good as what you might want.
Right. So, I have to keep moving. So, Red Pill Jesus, thank you for your call. Okay.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
bud.
you. Let me just read. Okay, let me read this quickly. This is still from this anonymous woman. She said, the intimacy is up and down. Sometimes it's amazing, completely mind-blowing, but often it just doesn't do anything for me. With my previous boyfriend, I'm going to stop this guy. With my previous boyfriend, we would have intimacy every night we spend together, whereas my boyfriend and I only have intimacy about 2 times a week, despite spending almost every night together. But I'm willing to forego amazing intimacy since we have such a good connection. I don't know how important looks are to me. I've never had good-looking boyfriends. I'm willing to bet that when she says that, she's talking about guys who are, maybe she's about a 3 and she's dating like average-looking guys or just above average-looking guys, and maybe this guy is her looks match. That's why there's a problem. That's just my assumption. But they've always had nice or at least okay bodies, whereas I really don't like my boyfriend's body. He's chubby and yet he still eats junk all the time and never exercises. Anyway, I guess more my question is whether all girls are really attracted to their boyfriends and remain that way for the duration of their relationship. Isn't that a really unrealistic expectation? So I know what you're going to say. Well, he needs to work on he needs to go to the gym. Well, that's an obvious thing. I know, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I'm gonna get to that. Son of Meager, I'll get to you soon. So James 22 says, you cannot go out with someone you don't find attractive. Physical attraction is the difference between friends and girl/boyfriends. Right. I'm going to get to that because I know you're going to say, well, he needs to work on his body. Right. So go to page 3.
I don't think she even. I mean, he could actually gain her attraction without doing that. I mean, obviously he should. Why not? But the hint is what she says about in the bedroom, right? About the snoo, right? Like, oh, gosh, it is. There's such a difference. Like the psychological aspect of snoo for women is so misunderstood by most guys. Like women want to be dominated in the bedroom. They want to be commanded. They want to have their hair pulled. They want to be slapped, right? That they want that kind of guy. And if this guy is this super nice guy, like she described earlier, she's getting along with him great. He's lovey-dovey, he's cuddle and whatnot, but he's not that guy that is going to call her a slut and tell her what he wants her to do in the bedroom. And that is a huge turn on for women, right? If he's that guy, I guarantee you him being a little bit chubby won't be a problem, because she was obviously at least a little bit attracted to him. But believe me,
I think she was vulnerable. In fact, I'm going to get to that. She continues on page 3, but I've missed out some posts in between. She says, but is it asking for too much to want a guy with the perfect personality who you really click with and who you are also attracted to? Because if I imagine my perfect boyfriend, he would have the exact personality of my current boyfriend, but would be good looking. Realistically, when you're 50, are you seriously going to be attracted to your husband/wife? Isn't it more just about deep love by that point? Part of me doesn't want to settle for someone I'm not attracted to. I don't even ask for a guy who is good looking per se. I just want a guy I am attracted to. But then the other part of me doesn't want to throw this amazing relationship away on the basis of something as shallow as looks. All right, so I'm going to keep going. Another poster, oh my gosh, what the OMG W2F BBQ says, get him to lose some weight. And then I think Dima Blackburn says, gently and politely ask him to exercise. So yeah, that's the obvious thing, but let's get to that. I'm just going to read
real quick.
All right.
If she asks him to do it and he does it, she's going to lose even more attractive to him, because he'll be even less of a man. Because if he's doing it to gain her approval, he's going to lose. It's going to blow up in his face. It's not good. That's not a good suggestion. And as the guy, doing something to like impress a woman or to make her attracted to you is going to make her less attracted to you. So that's not a good solution for that reason.
Here's the home run. She says, I always tell him to eat more healthily and to go to the gym more. but his job is really demanding, and he just doesn't have the time. That's not an excuse. He finishes work around midnight, and even if he lost weight and got in shape, he's only 5'6", and I am just not attracted to guys who are short. Plus, he doesn't have a very nice face. Notice how earlier she said that she wasn't attracted to his body, but when she delves a little deeper, it's about his face. Plus, he doesn't have a very nice face. I know this sounds so mean and overly critical, but what I am saying is that no matter what he did, I would not be physically attracted to him. Thing is, I'm so afraid to throw this relationship away because I am the happiest I've ever been, and it seems foolish to throw it away just because I don't find him attractive. I know I keep harping on about the same thing. I'm just having a huge crisis now since he's really serious and is talking about us moving in together, and I feel I need to decide now whether I want to stay in this relationship or move on. So yeah, even if he did the things that I know you were going to suggest, get slim, get lean, get swole, go to the gym, he still has a bad face and he's still short.
It's okay. So you can't really trust what she's saying here because she's putting it all together as a picture in a package, and it may be too late for this guy in this particular relationship. She may not be able to be attracted to him.
It was over before it begun because she said, I think I missed out another screenshot where she said she was vulnerable when she met him. I think that's later on. Yeah. She said she was vulnerable when she met him. And she kind of just went with the flow, and there was no. It's not like she lost attraction; it was never there. So I don't think there's anything he could really do. It's
okay. It was there, and I'll tell you why. There's one hint in what she said that says that it was there. Is that she described in one of those where she said that the sex was really good, mind blowing at times. Mm. Okay, so yeah, she said there.
Some escorts have mind-blowing sex with their chubby 40-year-old clients. They're not attracted to them. The sex can be good. I know there's more of a link with women between. I know there is more of a link between a woman finding a man attractive and the sex being mind-blowing, but she can just enjoy the sex because she's horny, and sometimes she doesn't want to put. Sometimes she doesn't put out. She says sometimes it grosses her out. She said, "Yeah, exactly, and a lot of that again has to do with the dynamics of the relationship and how he's acting in that relationship. He's a pushover guy. He is not a masculine man. She's not attracted to a man that is a weak beta male that's acting that way. That's just going to do whatever she wants. Is super nice guy. She wants a man to take her, and that's what women want in general. And this is the thing. It's like if you can learn to be that guy." That is you're going to project that in your interactions, right? And especially definitely in the bedroom. She's going to come up with all kinds of reasons why she doesn't know why she's not attracted to this guy. Not really. Okay. Now again, I'm not saying that he's necessarily a good looking guy, but what I'm saying is that I have dealt with this so many times. And most of the time where this occurs is in marriages where these guys will email me and they're like, oh, my wife isn't attracted to me anymore. We've been married for X number of years. Mm. And what's happened is that they were attracted to him, but they've become these beta guys that they jump at whatever their wife says. They don't stand on their own 2 feet. They're very needy, right? They're being super nice. They're trying to make her, appease the situation instead of just being men. And this is what happens. Women will absolutely lose attraction for you if they feel like they can control you, manipulate you, if you will not stand up to them. And to a woman, it is not going to. There's not a difference, right? I mean, as guys, even as guys, though, I would say that, one of the questions I ask guys all the time is, would you rather have a girlfriend or whatever partner who's a 7 who thinks you're a 10, or one who's a 10 that thinks you're a 7, right? And the first choice is better. I think a lot of guys. You want a girl who sees you as a 10.
Right. If you're a
Yeah.
7.
Yes. Yeah.
As you see her as a 7, right? Then a 10 that sees you as a 7. And a lot of that has to speak to just basic human nature is how we want, women have the same type of thing, except to an even more extreme, right? A woman would rather be with a guy that is not as attractive, but makes her feel super desired. That is a masculine man that makes her feel like he owns her and takes her and isn't afraid to do what she wants him to do to her. Will stand up to her and isn't a pushover. Is a real man's man. A woman would rather have that guy than a super, let's say, a super attractive. What do they call those guys that hipster type of guy? That's a beta kind of cop guy. I hate to use those terminologies, but that's I mean that's, and you can look around and you can see that, right?
Right.
So that's the difference.
Right. I'm going to see if I can get onto this because I do want to be out of here in a while. Let me get I'm going to get a caller on because I have to do something quickly. I'm going to get a caller on, and I'm going to get you to talk to him while I do something really quickly. Let's get Let's get this guy on. In fact, let's do it in order.
Someone was commenting that I just admitted that women go after men that are of higher value than them, and that's true. I do admit that is true.
All right. I'm going to add this guy, and then I'm going to be out of the room for about 30 seconds. So I'm going to let him make his point. And he
sounds good.
Okay. Right. So when he's here, he hung up. Hey, son.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up,
right,
man?
son. All right, you're live on Looks Live. I'm going to be out of the room for 30 seconds. I'll be back, but I'll make your point to Bulldog, okay?
Okay. All right. Hey, you guys hear me fine? Everything's good?
I can hear you. Yep.
All right. So basically, like I was explaining in the YouTube chat, like I have a mild form of Asperger's, I guess. It's not like extremely severe to the point where I can't recognize social cues at all, but pretty much I experience this a lot when I'm in public. I'll have women that'll come up to me like on the train or something. I'm going into Boston, and I notice like they'll start elbowing me or something, or trying to get my attention. And part of like my condition too, I have extreme social anxiety and depression. So how I react in those situations isn't really the best if I'm really trying to get laid. But I know for pretty much a fact that in those kind of situations, the woman is actually flirting with me, because I had a girl come out on the bus stop and she called me out on this. She's like, "Hey, am I not good enough for you or something? What's the problem here?"
Wow.
And basically, she's like, "Why are you so socially awkward? Like, you don't understand that I'm trying to you?" And I'm just like, "Oh no, I don't know what you're talking about."
I mean, it's bullshit. You don't have that. Social anxiety, yes, but everyone has social anxiety. As far as girls coming up to you and wanting to get with you, you're making that up right now. That's bullshit.
Right. So this is women talking about, as I say, it's not so much about what women say, it's how they behave. But let's review this very quickly.
Question for you: when a guy comes up to you, what goes on in your mind the first time? Like when they come up to you initially, what is the first thing you think about him? Like, what does this guy want?
Basically, yeah. Like, why is he
Are you
coming up
bothered?
to me? Like,
Are you bothered by it though?
Not really. I mean,
Not so much?
Not so much.
Depending?
Depends on my mood. If I'm okay, then I don't mind. I mean,
Okay.
it's always good.
What would be like the first thing that comes to my mind? That they want my number.
Yeah. So going indirect, she assumes that when a guy approaches her, he wants her number. So going indirect isn't as indirect as you may think. That's just a small point.
No. It's indirect in the sense that you are not displaying like a lower status, that your absolute attraction for her. That's why like she still knows why you're approaching. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like you see a girl on the street and you're like, hey, do you know where there's a Starbucks nearby? It's like when if I'm somewhere and a girl's like, hey, do you have a lighter? Right? Like, I know she's trying to start a conversation, right? She's obviously right. It's the same thing. But again, is in the same token, if a girl comes up to you and says, hey, you're really attractive, okay, that's a lot different than saying, hey, do you have a lighter?
Okay. Right, I'll keep going.
Sorry, I have a boyfriend.
To every guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's see.
Does my hair look okay? Am I sweating? Am I red? If he's cute, am I red for sure? Or like, are my eyes going crazy?
All right, so the important point there. The question was, what do you think of, what goes through your mind when a guy approaches you? And she said, if he's cute, am I red? So she starts to get insecure. You know, if a woman's insecure, then the ball is in your court, and she's going to be a bit more receptive to you. So and the thing is, people are gonna say, oh, why are you taking a woman's point of view? You say that don't believe women. No, I say you look at what women say, and then you tailor it to how women behave, what scientific studies say, what observable reality is showing us. Then you can believe what women say. So how does this stand with your opinion that approaching is, or how does this put? In which kind of light does this put game when she's saying that if he's cute, it's a different reaction from if she doesn't consider him good looking?
Yeah. So obviously, well, okay. So there's two things I'd kind of like to break it down to. One is like, how does she determine if he's cute? Okay, it's not
jawline.
Just facial. No, it's not just facial aesthetics. See, it's so much in a lot of like. Okay, so 90% of communication is nonverbal, right? There's so many like micro expressions that we have a way of sensing from a person. We can sense from a person. In fact, you can sort of sense tension when someone doesn't even say anything at all, right? You can sense if someone feels nervous or if they're angry, right? Have you ever been in a situation where you're like, oh, I can just tell this person's angry at me, right? They're smiling, they're acting like everything is okay. How can you sense these things? So there's a lot that goes into that initial perception that isn't just the jawline. Now, I'm not saying that that's not a factor in it. I'm just saying that and a lot of that is a self-fulfilling prophecy. A lot of that has to do with whether you're seeking validation or not, or whether you're confident. If you have banged 100 chicks, okay, and you go up to a girl, the way that you're going to present and the way that you're going to carry yourself is going to demonstrate that. Okay, it's going to be a significantly different than just like the last caller where he was having problems, where he's only talked to 10 girls in his life, and he feels like he's going to be socially awkward, and so she's going to perceive it's going to be much more difficult. Even though that dude was buff, right? He was pretty good looking. He was a buff dude. Okay, it's going to be much more difficult for this girl to perceive him as cute when he walks up to her, because he's going to be walking the way that he's going to be walking up to her. The very first thing that he says, right? All of these little micro expressions are going to give away that he is not, he's living in his parents' house, and is not a womanizer. He does not, have his way, know his way around women. Okay?
Why do people assume that living at your parents' house or that kind of thing is immediately detectable by a woman?
Because it's status. It is.
Yeah,
just,
but you don't say, hey, I saw you from across the room, and I live with my mom and dad. You don't do that. In fact, I want to get onto.
You don't need to.
All right. But, it just shows. All right, I'll come for that. I'll come for you on that point soon. I'll let you finish your point.
All right. To address this point, though, in the case that she does perceive a guy as cute, which yes, some of it will be facial aesthetics, some of it will be that she's going to react a little bit differently. But that's an initial reaction. Now, I call it the 30-second audition. There's two things being good looking will do. Honestly, like I'll tell you exactly what I tell guys in game, and this is 100% true. There's two things being good looking will do for you in game. One is they'll get you the audition, the longer audition. Instead of getting like a 10-second audition, you'll get the 30-second. And the second thing is that it will eliminate last minute resistance. If you bring her back to the hotel, she's going to be fucking you. Okay, that's the two things, the advantages that you have. Aside from that, this is just the audition, right?
But so the audition is how you get the role.
Yeah, but it gives you a longer audition when you're fucking it up, right? Like if you come in and you've got the audition and you're not very good, okay, she's gonna let you try a little bit longer than a guy that's not as good looking, that also is not confident and comes up and just presents himself in an awkward way. He's going to get shot down right away. Whereas the good looking guy is going to get, she wants him to, like, I hope this guy's not really, this, awkward, guy. Like she wants him to succeed a little bit more because he's cute as well. Yeah. So.
All right. Let's keep going with this.
Like, I don't know, like I just get so nervous and like jittery.
So nervous and jittery.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're telling me if he's cute.
If he's cute.
Okay, so it depends. So what if the guy is not cute?
I kind of think of like an excuse to tell him like, oh, I have to go, or oh, like my mom's calling me.
That's sad.
So it's not me saying it, it's her. She said if the guy's not cute, she makes up an excuse.
Right.
So
okay.
Your audition, we don't even get an audition if you're below average looking. The audition is closed. No. The theater is closed. There's a sign up saying don't post any posters here. Out of business. The demolition crew is coming in. There's no audition if you're below average looking.
That's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true. Now, yes, you could get flat outright rejected, but you can also change the outlook. Okay, it's again the part of what I said was that the determination of whether or not he's cute has a lot to do with the non-fixed facial aesthetics, right? It also has to do with all of these other aspects of a person, a live person, and how they're presenting themselves. Okay, so there's that aspect of it, and then also it doesn't just because she's doesn't think that a guy is cute initially doesn't mean that he's not ever going to be able to gain attraction. Okay?
Yes, and then look what happened. Look what happened with the girl with the boyfriend. She didn't find him attractive initially. She gave him a chance, and before she knew it, she was in a relationship with a guy that she didn't feel any attraction to. So maybe if you do kind of worm your way past the audition, if you're not good looking, you'll end up in a relationship where she doesn't like you. I'm not saying in every case.
Yeah. Well, I know, but what I'm saying,
that risk.
And I would say to avoid that, again, remember that question I asked guys, is you want women to let you f them or want to f you, and that's a critical question. And the wanting them to f you has a lot to do with how you carry yourself and how you go forward in that relationship, right? So yes, you could get into a situation. The idea is not to weasel by. The idea is to actually build genuine attraction by being an attractive man. And part of being an attractive man is not just looks. It is all of these other components that all add up to one package, right? And yes, if you have really bad looks, it is going to hurt you significantly, right? But the overall view of her status, ultimately what she's going to be evaluating you on as a man is whether she thinks that you are higher than her in some regard in the overall package,
and higher than the guys she can get, the other guys that she can get, because again, your confidence and personality aren't that unique. There are guys who have similar personality in game and more looks, so you're competing with those guys as well.
Are you competing with them? How are you competing with them?
Against them
are
for a woman.
Are those guys approaching her and talking to her at that time?
Women
right?
are,
a lot of
women are inundated with men, so you're always competing with various guys.
If you're going up and talking to a girl on the street, okay, there's probably 95% chance or higher that some other guy did not go up and talk to her on the street that day.
Yeah, but with Tinder now and with dating apps,
it doesn't
guys
matter.
Don't need to. Guys don't need to go up and approach. This has given women such power. At least like 20 years ago, before smartphones, men had some kind of, I wouldn't even call it an upper hand, but there was some benefit that men had. We could go up to a woman in a nightclub and or something, and women didn't have many alternatives. What did a woman have? She had the, if she could approach a guy in real life, but many wouldn't. But now the whole approaching thing has been made easier for women. I would argue it's been made easier for men as well, because everyone can use Tinder. But for women, it's had the biggest return on investment, because women didn't benefit from in real life approaches before dating apps. So women gain from dating apps and smartphones.
They're receivers, okay, but they also lost in the sense that they don't have men actually going up and talking to them. But in net they've gained from it. But let me say this, okay? So you can be in a situation, all right, and this has happened myself. This happened to plenty of people that I've worked with. Let's say that you're at a bar, okay. Because women are it's in the moment, and this is why I'm saying that there's. We will calculate, we'll stalk a woman for 3 months, okay? Women don't really do that in general. They tend to be in the moment. So you could be at a bar, you can have a girl that is totally into you, could be making out with her all night, okay? At the end of the night, you try to get her to come back with you. She can't, she's got friends, whatever it is. You get her phone number, right? You text her, she's like, oh yeah, I had such a good time. You're so hot, right? Then the next day, you text her again, and you get nothing. You never hear from her again. This is it's the moment. That's why I'm saying that, like, you're envisioning this as you're competing with all these other guys. You're not. It's like, are they here right now? If they're not here right now, you're not competing with them. Okay. Now, will she maybe go on Tinder and hook up with some other guy later next week? Sure, that's fine, but that's in the future. That's not here and now. And that's the big confusion here, is that it's not like you have to compete with all these other guys. It's very much in the moment at that time. And most guys honestly do not have the balls to actually close. Most guys are not.
You're not, all right, maybe you're not competing in the moment, but as soon as you leave, as soon as she opens her phone again, as soon as she goes out with her friends to a nightclub, then you're competing, because when you're not around, chads are around, or guys who are better looking than you are around. I'm going to continue with the video. All right. So the next question is, do looks matter?
Go to the next question. Let's see. Do looks matter to you?
Yes. And if a girl tells you no?
Absolutely. I agree.
I'm going to just keep going, because I'm sure you agreed with that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, let's keep going.
Okay.
Yes, in a way, because for me, it's like, if I'm not attracted to somebody, I can't.
All right, pay attention to that. She said the looks are important, because if she's not attracted to someone, she can't. All right, let's keep going.
You can't concentrate. You don't see the chemistry.
She said she doesn't see any chemistry. So pay attention to these words, okay? They're going to come back on her in a sec.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, chemistry means a lot.
At the beginning, yeah, but then if it was like a friend that could be ugly, yeah, that's totally different, because personality is a lot more than looks. But first impression, obviously looks are.
So she said first impressions are about looks. She's and then women always say this. They say, yeah, looks only get you through the door. But as we said in that theater audition example, they get you through the door, but there isn't much other way to get through the door. And if you do, the attraction will be weak, or you risk being cucked or dumped.
No. Okay, I disagree 100%, and I'll tell you why. Because I can tell you from my perspective as a guy, and like flipping the tables, right? So I have had opportunities, and I have went out with women that most guys would say are like a 10 out of 10, at least a 9, like very high 9 or 10. They've had the Barbie doll looks, right? Just like, right. But at the same time, I've had girls that most guys would rate as like a 7 out of 10. And I have ditched the 10 out of 10 girl for the 7 out of 10, because the 10 out of 10 girl was just so annoying, or just like there wasn't chemistry. Like it just, there was not, whatever it was, it just, I know objectively she's better looking, right? Like if I showed pictures to guys, they would say, oh yeah, this girl is smoking, right? But why would I pick this other girl? Well, because we just vibe better. Like again, if you're thirsty and super desperate, you're probably just going to pick the 10 girl. But if you have experience with a lot of women, you're going to pick the one that you vibe with better. And so the reason why I'm using this as an example is because it's the same thing with women, because women it's a different situation that's very difficult for most men to understand unless you have had the availability of a lot of women, right? Women have the availability of a lot of guys. So when you have a high availability of a lot of guys, the looks start to become less relevant, okay? Because you realize that, yeah, I could get these 10 out of 10 Chad guys or whatever, but you know what? They're not really, there's not real super chemistry here. I'm looking for a guy that's, decent looking, that's like, that I would say is good looking, but one that I hit it off with better. And that's if me as a man is saying that, then I guarantee you that women who are less physical in nature and in appearance are certainly thinking the same thing. And that's why this is such a bad question to ask. If looks, of course, looks matter, but it's not the like, you cannot say that a 10 or a 9 or 10 guy is always going to win against a 7 guy. It's not the case. It's not even close.
All right. Your point was that if you had a 10 that you didn't vibe with, and you had a 7 that you vibed with, you would go with the 7. Therefore, women must feel the same way. There is that aspect, but women have, you're talking as if women only have a choice of a 10 out of 10 guy with a bad personality or a 7 out of 10 guy with a good personality. No, women have like a whole range. So women could not go with the 10 out of 10 guy with a bad personality, but get another 10 out of 10 guy with a good personality.
Okay, but
with a good personality.
It's not just good or bad personalities, okay? Yeah. Some of it is how a large part of it is how the guy makes them feel. But in addition to that, it's the compatibility, right? It's like, I'm not going to be attracted to the same types of personalities as you are, right? We're going to have different levels. And most guys are so thirsty. They're so starved for female attention that they don't evaluate women at that level, right? That's why I'm trying to make this point, is because I think it's so critical to understand is that if you have a high availability of women, you stop evaluating them just on their looks, right? Because you're like, okay, anything that, and any woman that's 7 or above is within my range. But let me now the personality, or not like whether she has a good personality, but whether she vibes with you, whether you feel like there's that chemistry, whether you've got that, things that are very hard to describe. That becomes another more important factor, above that threshold. And certainly if that's the case for guys that have high availability of women, it's certainly the case for women. But most guys never realize that, because they would say, well, I'll just take whatever, I'll take the hottest woman, but once you've had a lot of hot women, this is what I could tell you. Once you've had a lot of hot women, you realize that it's not really that big of a deal. Like, you know what I mean? If you've never had any hot women, then it's a huge part of your life. Like, you're like obsessed about, like, oh, this would be so great. This would be the holy grail. It'd be awesome. But once you've had a lot of hot women, you're like, well, it's really not that big of a deal. Like the difference between a girl that's like a 7 and someone who's a 9 or a 10, it's not really that big of a deal.
All right, you're talking about like 7 and 10. These are like above average looking numbers we're talking about. But so your example, there is you'd rather be with the 10 female 10 you'd rather be with the 7 out of 10 female with a woman with a good personality than the 10 out of 10 woman with a bad personality. But you wouldn't want to be with the 3 out of 10 woman with the great personality.
Oh, of course, if you have the better looking woman who also has the better, and I don't want to say great because it's subjective, right? The better vibing personality, let's say, or the better let's say that you have the better chemistry with. I think that's the best way to describe it. Okay, then yes, obviously you're going to make that choice.
Yeah,
but
so that's a choice that women are, or let's flip it to women. Yes, a woman may choose a 7 out of 10 guy who they vibe with rather than the 10 out of 10 guy that they don't vibe so well with, but they're not going to pick the 3 out of 10 guy who they could really vibe with.
Well, the 3 probably not, but
Exactly,
possibly the 5, if they could really vibe with him. Okay, he's going to have to play a longer game. He's going to have to. It's not going to be as quick.
Okay, let's keep going with this video.
Looks matter to a certain point.
To a certain point.
Yeah, if the guy's super hot, like, and he's a douchebag, or like so full of himself, I'm real like, dude, like, stop wasting my time, like, leave.
Again, this is the outlier Chad meme that I spoke about earlier. She said, if the guy's super hot but is a douche, then she'll reject him. But why are we talking about? Why are we focusing on the Chads who have a bad personality or bad game or whatever? And why did she not say, if the ugly guy has a great personality, then I'd date him? Why didn't she say that? Why was the focus on the hot guy? Why was the instant pivot to this mythical Chad who has a terrible personality and who's socially uncalibrated and is a douche?
Okay, two things.
A rare Chad.
First of all, people say she's lying, and I agree. She is lying. Like, if the dude is a douchebag, she's only going to be more attractive.
Yeah. In fact, yeah.
So I agree with that.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is that the reason why is because she's, like, again, it comes down to that perception. She's not going to see.
Ignore this. Right, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, ignore that. Sorry.
Okay, so she's not going to see a guy that she's really vibing with as being ugly. She's not going to see him as that, right?
Okay.
That's the thing.
Let me take that point. You said she's not going to see a guy that she vibes with as ugly. I would say she's not going to see a guy that she finds good looking as a douche unless he's really bad.
Well, okay. See, if she said that he was awkward and shy, that would be a much bigger insult than calling him a douche. If he's a douche, she's going to test him. She's going to reject him, right? But it's going to be a mock rejection. So if you go, you're a good looking guy, you go up to this girl and you like make some kind of offhanded comment and she's like, stop wasting my time, get out of here, I'm not interested, right? He's going to have enough confidence to be like, yeah, right, like, and he's going to keep on pursuing at that point, and she's going to like that. But she's going to test him because he's asking to be tested. If you come up there cocky, you're going to get tested. So it's going to be a different interaction for sure, right? But it doesn't mean that someone who's, again, like I said, you should be, of course, looks maxing and improving your looks as much as possible because it's going to help you to get the audition. Okay, but once you have the audition, you're going to have to still perform in the audition. And someone who is, let's say, the 5 out of 10 guy that talks to her, he's going to have to work a little harder. But it doesn't mean that. Well, it depends. It depends on the girl, honestly, in that case. But. And it depends on what other things he has going. Okay.
I'm gonna keep going. All right.
But if he's not that attractive, but he's like really confident and he's intelligent, definitely.
Yeah, I don't believe that for a second. If Danny DeVito was just really intelligent and came across well, I'm not saying Danny DeVito literally, but someone of his looks level, please.
You're not allowed to use Danny DeVito anymore if we can't. Because it's the same thing as like me using like the outlier Chads. So.
Okay. All right, let's keep going.
Does personality matter to you, and does it matter more than looks?
Yes, definitely.
So basically, you're telling me that initially, just to like entice you, looks are a key thing, but then personality is what really keeps you going for more. Boring, quiet.
See, again, it seems to be, I wouldn't date this hot guy if he was boring and quiet. No, in fact, I don't. First of all, a hot guy is less likely to be boring. I would say a hot guy is less likely to be perceived as boring. Even if he is boring, he'll be seen as like shy, or not shy. He'll be seen as brooding and smoldering or something. So there's so much female speak going on here that you have to be able to see through it. Again, the pivot is to this the outlier Chad again. The Chad who doesn't have the right kind of personality or social skills. If this particular Chad doesn't have the right social skills, then I wouldn't date him. Yeah, sure, but most Chads do have social or socially outgoing. So this mysterious, mythical outlier Chad isn't as common as they're making out. This guy that comes into you who has perfect game, but a bad face, I don't think you'd say to him, well, by looking at your jaw, I can see that your mandible's recessed, so I think you would overemphasize that he needs to improve on his game. I don't think you would place the importance on looks because you don't have the language or you haven't studied it as much as I have. I think you would pivot to his game needing to be, instead of a 10, being an 11 or something.
It's really
How about
easy.
this, have you ever attributed it to face? Have you ever told one of your students or whatever that,
no,
all right, it is your face? So you've never done that?
I haven't run into that yet. I don't think it's...
See, I find it very hard to believe that you will ever do that. I feel like you would always...
Why would I ever do that?
Only in the exceptional circumstances where a man has his face burned off by acid or, you know, a deformity. I think only then would you say that, hey, your looks are the problem. I think if a guy comes in and as long as he has a nose and some eyes on his head, you're going to be like, well, hey, game can do the rest.